spearfishing and basically just trying to live off the island, like gathering coconuts, is really important to us because for the most part, we are in these spots that are uninhabited.
Thankfully, these uninhabited islands have lots and lots of fish. Plenty of gray snappers, jackfish, rainbow runners, and dogtooth tuna if you're lucky and looking in the right spots. We need to be a little cautious of what we hunt because of ciguatera. Ciguatera is a foodborne illness that you can contract from eating reef fish that are contaminated with certain toxins. So we never try to hunt the largest reef fish, which are more likely to have cig. We also always need to be on the lookout for sharks trying to steal our fish or come after us, but that's a video for another time. As long as you have a good team in the water, usually we can secure the fish in the boat. So once we have some fresh fish, it's time to head to the beach and gather our supplies to make one of my favorite fish meals.
Well, we are down at the beach yet again to get some fresh coconuts to make some coconut milk for Poisson Cru. It is a very dreamy beach for lots of photo shoot opportunities with Tay and Emmett. Okay, well, the goal for the coconuts, we want to look for the brown ones, and preferably they have something inside. When you shake them, they're still like a little wet. If they have nothing inside, they're probably too old. The meat's not gonna be good. No water, then it's junk. We probably wanna try to find like 4 good brown cocos. Coconuts like this have like basically sprouted. So it has roots that go down to the ground, and it's just gonna grow now a new plant. So you usually try to leave these ones because they're gonna be able to make essentially more coconuts. None of those are fresh. This one is maybe decent enough. There are a few different ways we can open up the coconuts. My preferred method is taking a large rock and smashing it on the top. So I'm gonna try that with most of these, but if you have a machete, you can also start hacking at the coconut to try and get the husk off. That method just takes a lot longer. With the heavy rock, you just run the risk of maybe you'll accidentally crush the rock on it and it's gonna break the coconut open, and you might lose some of that water and kind of mess up the method of trying to get the milk out. Enough good hits, and we can start to get the cocoa out. Okay. Unfortunately, this one broke a little bit at the mouth, so we won't be able to get as much of the water out. 1 down, 4 to go. All right, those 2 went quick. Like I said, I prefer this method. Just watch your toes, and sometimes you break the coconut like the other one, but these 2 came out perfectly. All right, now it's time to show you how to open up a coconut. Maybe if you don't have the big rocks, this method works. It takes a long time. It's gonna dole out your machete, and don't cut yourself. But the goal is basically we need to go around and hit this coconut as many times as we can to just start breaking open the husk until we can finally start to pull it apart. But there's no way to like muscle through this, so it's just a matter of whacking it as many times as you can.
Two hours later.
Even once you think you're close, you're probably not. finally, once the husk is weak enough, you can start to pull the husk off the coconut. Probably if I had kept hitting this thing, this would be easier. Okay, I have my fourth coconut, and it's a nice one. Now my favorite part, opening up the coconut. Every coconut is gonna have two eyes that are basically the exact same shape, and then a mouth that's a bit bigger. What you wanna do is use a blunt object and basically hit it on the top of the head, just between its two eyes, and kind of just start working your way around until you'll get the coconut, hopefully to crack in like a perfect half, but that's not always the case. Whew. Didn't really save much of the milk or the water, but it's okay. Now it's time to actually start getting the coconut, the shavings. So we've got our special board with the blade on it. We're gonna use the cocoa and basically just start scraping all the flakes into the bowl. Try not letting much sand or coconut shavings, like the brown parts of the coconut, get in here, but we will kind of sift through this later to get the actual milk out.
Get ready to be shaving these nuts for a solid 30 minutes or more, but just know that the flavor you get using real Cocos compared to a store-bought can makes a huge difference.
30 minutes later, and we finally have our coconut shavings. It's a lot of work, but it is 100% worth at the end. We are on to the final step of making coconut milk, and that is going to be taking the shreds of coconut and basically just wringing it out really hard through a thin cloth. Using something like a cheesecloth will be best because it's thin enough for the liquid to actually fall out. I'm improvising and using the hood of a t-shirt. So take your coconut shreds, use your muscles, and you basically just need to wring it out as best you can. Get as much milk out as possible. You can set all of the used stuff off to the side in a separate bowl, because after, you can always put all the used stuff in a blender with like a bit of water to try and get out, you know, as much as possible. But it's sad to see, even with 4 full coconuts, how little coconut milk comes out of this. Next step, we want to have the fish cubed, and we're going to add lime. Then next, we'll do a bit of chopped up carrots, thinly sliced. Add a bit of tomatoes. This was all we had because, again, we're in some remote islands, so unfortunately, that's the max. Tomatoes. We want a bit of white onion. Don't go crazy with the onion, or else it'll be, the flavor will be not as good. And then some diced cucumbers. And then the very last thing is going to be adding your coconut milk. Add a little bit of salt and pepper for taste. A bit of garlic in there as well. And voila, we have basically as homemade as you can get, homemade Poisson Cru. Serve over some rice. My favorite fish to use for Poisson Cru is rainbow runner.
But if you don't happen to get the fish in the boat, then it's time to head to the store and try and get some supplies.
Recently, we did make it down to an island that's semi-inhabited. There's about like 850 people that live here. There's an airport on this island, and there's actually a few shops that we're about to go to. But usually these shops have little to zero supplies at all, especially as far as fresh food goes. And unfortunately, because this last weekend was Easter weekend, the supply ship didn't even come to deliver any more goods. And they also even ran out of gasoline, gas and diesel. So it is really important that we catch our own fish to be able to cook our own meals and kind of have our own base of protein.
This is the sad reality because this is the last of the produce for another 2 weeks. Nearly every fridge was empty or half empty or just full of soda and junk foods or warm beer because shops here are not allowed to sell cold beer. We got lucky and had a decent amount of onions and garlic left and totally scored with some local bananas. There's usually always a supply of juice, but not even any cheese this time around. Plenty of ice cream, some frozen veggies, and meats, but all wildly overpriced. We went just for health food stuff, some treats for the next 2.5 weeks. A decent supply of canned goods, which is what we're going to be living on for the next several weeks. And we drooled over boxes of cereal that were $10 each.
This is the best place to stand in all of Fakarava.
Dry my armpits.
Beers were on sale for a whopping $52 for a case, so of course we stocked up on some Hinanos, and yes, got ice cream number 2 of the day just to try and cool off.
First store checked out, and they had fresh baguettes, which is amazing. Unfortunately, they did not have any fresh eggs. We had put in a request to have some eggs, but with no supply ship, they don't have enough for like everyone on this island, so no eggs.
Thankfully, today we set sail for an island that is uninhabited and hopefully has less sharks, because recently the sharks have become a real problem for us trying to get food. Stay subscribed to continue following along the journey. There will be plenty more spearfishing videos coming up. And please, drop a comment below if you have any questions or maybe even content you might want to see. Cheers!